Good day, dear students. You are welcome to literature class, courtesy of Islamic College Ishogo. Our topic for today is poetry. Poetry. Definitions of poetry. What do we understand by poetry? According to different authors of poetry, literature. Well, as I've written the note out, which students you surely read out there, poetry can be defined as an imaginative, artistic creations or composition, usually in metrical, which communicates a heightened emotion or thought of a kind not conveyable in prose, expressed in an harmonious patterned representation. Well, if we are to explain this, I say poetry is an imaginative. Things you can imagine, things you can think, you can reason out yourself. For instance, you can think of the world, the creation of human. You can think of the solving of an ocean. You can think of a lot of things that can easily come to your mind. You can imagine how next Ilea will be within your family, and most of those things. So, our imaginative artistic creation, things that you are able to create artistically. For instance, if you're a potter, that you mold pots. If you are a molder or a builder that built house, it's not just starting. It has started longer years ago. So, your imaginative and artistic will create things. Or possibly if you're a poet, that you can compose a good poems. Your ability to do that is called poetry. And a situation where you are a good poet, whatever be the poem you are to write, must fall under the rules of poetry. That means it must be in a metrical form. Metrical form. That will be in stanzas and fall in meters. And the thought of a kind not conveyable in prose. So some of the word, the idea that will come from you as a poet, if you are such a poet, must not be like a poetry and must form harmonious pattern. In another way around, poetry can also be defined as a poem collectively or in general, such as lyric, epics, drama, dirge, and so on. When you say poetry, most of the poems in collections, poems like lyrics, poems like dirge, poems like epic, and many more. That is what you can even call poetry. Literary icon like Thomas Hardy's assumption state that poetry as an emotion put into measure, that emotion must come by nature, but the nature can be acquired by art. You must have an emotion, the feelings. Your feelings may be a feelings of anger, a feelings of love, a feelings of hatred, and many more. So some of these feelings of yours, right, must have measures. It mustn't be overdone. And that measure must come by nature. Now, if you are such that you can develop any anger for anything, you are not the one that creates that anger. The anger is a natural thing. If you are such that you smile a lot, you are not the one that creates that smile. The smile is natural. And it must be acquired by art. That means you must be able to put some of those things into play. That means people see that trait of happiness in you. We cannot see love, but you fall in love. Some of these things are abstract. They are natural. But the act of seeing the love, it is the expression we see in you. Christopher Fry is another author. In his own assumption says, poetry is the language in which man explores his own amazement. Many a times you may be happy. Many a times you may be sad. But a situation where you are happy, what makes you to be happy? And you are frolic, you jump up, you shout. Take for instance, you had A1s or rather in your examination, for instance, WAEC. You will not hide your result. You want everybody to see your results. You want to jump up, you want to run here and there and tell people, oh, can you see my result? Whereby some of those that scored F9, they will keep their results under their uniform. They won't want anybody to see it. So it is the poem that you write on this that is what Christopher Fry is discussing as a poetry. Another way around, poetry is an act of uniting pleasure with truth by the help of imaginations. You unite pleasure with truth. Take for instance, if you are happy. Say for instance, your mother gave birth to a newborn baby, your house. That shows the whole of the house is happy. And I want to believe what you'll be thinking is the day they will slaughter the ram, whereby and name the baby and give him a very good name. So that very happiness, the expressions of the happiness that we, maybe 8 days, they will slaughter ram and your newborn baby will have name. It is the expression of what the pleasure that we say literature, poetry derives. More so, anything that is abstract, you turn fictitious things into fact. Something that is not real, you make it real. That is in another way around. In another way around, poetry is also an art of writing and collections of poems. As said, some of the dictions that is in poetry must not be the same with what you have in drama. So you shouldn't be the one you have in drama. And more so, what you have in drama may not be the one that you find in prose. Any poet has what we call poetic license. That is, the freedom to use any language of his own, to explore any language of his or our own. That is in other way that is given to a poet. Take for instance, Professor Wole Soyinka, in one of his in one of his poems, The Night Rain. He says, Abiku, it's Abiku. He says, and I quote, "Yam does not sprout in Hamlet. Hamlet, we know that words are ambiguous. Hamlet to a layman may be a small hut, but the Hamlet that this man means is a kind of charm that some of the primitive warrior used in the olden days, that is in Yoruba called Olonde. Yam does not sprout in it. It's a language that he explored by himself. More so, Professor Chinua Achebe, in his book, The Things Fall Apart, he says, a lizard that falls from a tree, from a palm tree, down to the ground, says, if nobody praise me, I'll praise myself. All these are poetic licenses. So poets they have the right to use the language of their own, and they cannot be penalized for that. Characteristics of poetry. One, as I've written in the note, I said poetry language is expressed rhythmically. He said most of the lines of the poetry is to express the feelings, and they must flow in a musical pattern. Take for instance, riverbird, sitting all day long on hook over grasses. Riverbird, sing to me a song of other past and say, will mother come back today? This is a poem. It comes in a musical form. And number two, poetry usually uses carefully chosen words and figures of speech. When you say poet, some of the language that must be used in poetry must be well designed words, not words that you just use like that. And it is embedded with figures of speech, like some of this archaic language, the Shakespearean language, thy father, thou shalt, and most of those things are some of the archaic language and some of the figures of speech that you use in there. Number 3, poetry tends to have regular rhythmic pattern. When you say rhyme is the line, the successive lines of a sound. Why rhythm is the beat? Why rhythm is the beat? So a situation where you are to write into poetry, it must follow a regular rhythmic pattern. That means it must have a sound that sounds in stanzas, in meters, in rhyme scheme, and the line must try to evoke the feelings or emotions in people. So if poetry were to be treated, 1, it must be written in stanza. Stanza is the unit of a poem. And the meter must be there. The meter is the arithmetical figure that you have behind the poem. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, like that. And it must have a rhyming scheme. That means the foot of the poem must have a successive lines of sounds. And some of these things, the poet does it to evoke feelings, to let you have feelings of what we are saying, of what the poet is saying. Number 4, poetry is usually beautiful. Listening to poem, it makes use of dialogue known as dramatic monologue. What I can remember vividly, during the time of late Benga Adeboye, One Man Army. This man will be in the studio all alone. He will act about 3 different characters. We have the like of Akikomi Alabi in Yoruba OSBC. This man does the same. He will be the only one in the studio, and he'll be using diverse tone. And it creates beauty of the poetry. That is why I say poetry is nothing but life, because some of those things that come out from your mouth to evoke feelings, to arrest the interest of people, is called poetry. Poetry often divided into stanza, that's number 5. So most of the poetry work often follow divisions into stanzas, that is, group of lines that form into unit of poetry, poems. Poetry must be divided into different units. And this unit, for instance, let's say sonnet. Sonnet is a 14-line poem. We have the first 4, which is the first quatrain, the second quatrain. So those 8 is called octave. While the remaining 6, the first 3 is sestet, the second one is sestet. So the first quatrain, the second quatrain may come out, may pronounce problems. While the remaining 3 is 6, which is tacet, will provide solutions to the problems. More so, I want to believe you really enjoy today's class. The assignment given, I want you students to put your hands in some of those things. Now the assignment, please, you can write it down. Define and explain poetry according to literature authors. Define and explain poetry according to literature author. Number 2, discuss characteristics of poetry. I repeat, discuss characteristics of poetry. Thank you. May Almighty Allah make the learning, the listening, and the learning easier for you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.